9, which is over human resource management. This week we will have 8 major objectives or sections of the chapter to go over. The first section is over strategic human resource management. And after reading this part of the chapter, you should be able to answer this major question. How do effective managers view the role of people in their organization's success? The next part of the chapter is over the legal requirements of human resource management. After reading this, you should be able to answer the question, to avoid exposure to legal liabilities, what areas of the law do I need to be aware of? Part 3 is over recruitment and selection. This is putting the right people into the right jobs. Sometimes you may find people in your organization that you might ask yourself this question, how did that person get put into that job? So after reading this, you can then answer this question, how can I reduce mistakes in hiring and find great people who might work for you? Section 9.4 is over orientation, training, and development. The major question that you should be able to answer after reading this section is, once people are hired, what's the best way to see that they do what they're supposed to do? Move on to 9.5, which is over performance appraisal. The major question for this chapter, or for this part of the chapter, is how can I assess employees' performance more accurately and give more effective feedback? Section 9.6 is over managing an effective workforce, compensation, and benefits. The question for this section is you should be able to answer is, what are the various forms of compensation? We move on to section 9.7, which is over managing promotions, transfers, discipline, and dismissals. You should be able to answer this question after you read this. What are some guidelines for handling promotions, transfers, disciplining, and dismissals of employees? And we conclude the chapter with section 9.8, which is over labor management issues. And the major question we ask ourselves after reading this part is, what are the principal processes and issues involved in organizing labor unions? So that's a breakdown of what we'll be going over in chapter 9. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first part. Okay, we will first define what human resource management is, because this part of the chapter is over human resource management and the essence of managing the organization's most important resource, and that is the humans that are part of that organization. So HR management consists of the activities managers perform to plan for, attract, develop, and retain an effective workforce. Now you might find that odd that I said that the people in our organization, the humans in our organization, are the most important resource. And although talking about people as resources may seem to downgrade them to a level of material or financial resources, people are an organization's most important resource in its operations. Now, at many companies, human resources have become part of the strategic management process. HR departments deal not only with employee paperwork and legal accountability, but also support the organization's overall strategy through recruitment and selecting other people, orienting, training, and developing personnel, and performing appraisals of those individuals. 3 concepts important in this view of human resource management are human capital, human knowledge workers, and social capital. Human capital is the economic or productive potential of employee knowledge, experience, and actions. Attracting, retaining, and developing talented workers is sometimes the only way organizations can keep up with their competition. Highly educated, knowledgeable workers, the most in demand, are the hardest to find, and as well as being the easiest to lose in an organization. The other concept to talk about was the knowledge worker. And a knowledge worker is just someone whose occupation is principally concerned with generating or interpreting information, as opposed to that physical manual labor. Because of globalization and information technology, the U.S. no longer has an advantage in knowledge workers. And lastly, I mentioned social capital, and this is the economic or productive potential of strong, trusting, and cooperative relationships. Now this will include goodwill, mutual respect, cooperation, trust, and teamwork. Good relationships with any business outrank many other factors in importance for its employees. And if you bundle all this up, the purpose of the strategic human resource management process is to get the optimal work performance that will help realize the company's mission and vision. So as you look at our chart here, you can see how we, in our overall scheme of things, we establish our mission vision. We've talked about that. We establish our grand strategy. We formulate those strategic plans to go along with our strategy. And then you see the human resource part come in here in our diagram. Planning the human resources that we need. Recruit and select the people that we need. Once we have them, we orient, train, and develop those to go along with our mission and vision. And then we perform appraisals of those people. So you can see how the human resource aspect goes along with our overall strategic planning. Now for the planning aspect, strategic human resource planning consists of developing a systematic, comprehensive strategy for, first, understanding our current employee needs, and secondly, predicting our future employee needs. And understanding current employee needs requires first doing a job analysis to determine by observation and analysis the basic elements of a job. So here specialists interview job applicants about what they do, observe the flow of work, and learn how results are accomplished. Now after the job analysis is complete, you're going to write a job description and a job specification. A job description just summarizes what the holder of the job does and how and why he or she does it. The second part of that, the job specification, describes the minimum qualifications a person must have to perform that job successfully. By entering a job description and specification into a database, the organization can then do a computer search for candidates by matching keywords on those resumes. Now, predicting future employee needs means you must be knowledgeable about what the human resources the organization may need and the likely sources for that staffing. You must understand the organization's vision and strategic plan so that the right people can be hired to meet the future strategies and future work. Now, you can recruit employees in your organization from either inside or outside the organization. In looking at those individuals that are inside, you need to consider which employees are motivated, which ones are trainable, and which ones are promotable. A human resource inventory listing employees by name, education, training, languages, and other important information may be helpful when looking at your inside organization. When you look outside your organization, you need to consider the availability of talent in the labor pool, the train of people graduating from schools nearby, as well as other factors in your community and surrounding area. Now let's take a look at the second part of our chapter, which is over the legal requirements of HR management. Whatever your organization's human resource strategy in the U.S. and in U.S. divisions that are overseas, it has to operate within the environment of American law. 4 areas you need to be aware of are as follows: labor relations, compensation and benefits, health and safety, and equal employment opportunity. Now, if you can look at Table 9.1 in your book, you'll see some important recent U.S. federal laws and regulations protecting an organization's employees. And those range all the way back to like the 1960s. And you can just see that those have been broken up into different laws or regulations for labor relations, different law or regulations for compensation benefits, health and safety, and equal employment opportunity. And we'll discuss a few of those now. The first area we talked about was labor relations, and labor relations are dictated in part by the National Labor Relations Board, which enforces procedures whereby employees may vote to have a union and for collective bargaining. Collective bargaining consists of negotiations between management and employees about disputes over compensation, benefits, such things as working conditions, as well as job security. Now, legislation passed in 1935 resulted in the National Labor Relations Board, which enforces procedures whereby employees may vote to have that union or collective bargaining that I just mentioned. In a 1947 law, the Taft-Hartley Act, allows the President of the U.S. to prevent or end a strike that threatens national security. Now when we move on to the next part, compensation benefits, those are covered by the Social Security Act of 1935 and the Fair Labor Standards Act, which establish minimum wage and overtime pay regulations. The Social Security Act of 1935 established the U.S. retirement system, and the Fair Labor Standards Act established the minimum wage currently is about $7.25 an hour, and required overtime pay for employees working more than 40 hours a week. And as you go into organizations, you'll probably see that there are sometimes different rules or benefits for overtime, but the Fair Labor Standards Act is established for working more than a 40-hour week. Moving on, health and safety section. Health and safety are covered by the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970, among other laws. You'll probably recognize the Occupational Safety and Health Act, which we mainly just call OSHA. Lastly, we talk about equal employment opportunity and equal opportunity employment. The EEO here, commission, job is to enforce anti-discrimination and other employment-related laws. There are three important concepts covered by the equal employment opportunity, and those are discrimination, affirmative action, and sexual harassment. Now, discrimination is defined as occurs when people are hired or promoted or denied a hiring or promotion in an organization for reasons that are not relevant to the job. Affirmative action focuses on achieving equality of opportunity within an organization, including the establishment of minority hiring goals.